There we go. Hello. Wendy?
Yes. Hi, Susan.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I was getting bounced around there a bit.
Yeah, so was I, but I'm going to turn off my TV. Hang on.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to do that. Get a glass of water.
I can't. I can hear Susan, but not you.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
So Sarah has COVID.
Oh no.
Yeah. Jessica had it, so
I know it's been going around here again
really?
too.
Yeah, lots of. Can
Yeah.
the Comic Jam people hear us?
I think they can hear us, but I can't hear
No, I
them.
can't hear them.
But I've got everything working on this
Me
side.
too. We're here. So far, I'm negative, so that's good.
Turn it on. Yeah. No, the light is reflective, dear. Yeah. Sorry, Paul's mucking around here.
Oh, I hear movement.
Yeah.
Well, I can hear you now on mine. This is weird.
Can you hear us now? Yes.
Hello?
How about we just use? You just turn that to just like.
We want that to capture.
Well, you can use that to capture the scene.
I think this is going to be the camera for Wendy and Sue, and then we're going to see them on the big screen up there. So we have to position this camera to be able to see you when you speak in the mic.
That's all. There we go. So
Yeah, it's
there you are. Hold the mic.
yeah.
It looks like a lovely place.
Mm-hmm. I'm just.
Can you hear us?
I don't think they're
Yes.
at the machines. Can they hear us?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
And we can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yep.
Yep. Yep. We're both here.
So that's great. So yeah, I guess we can begin. What you're seeing is the inside of the Cameron, just one side. I'll give you a little bit of a view. There's a lot of people here. You
That's
won't,
wonderful.
Yeah.
you won't be able to see everybody, but we want to angle it so you can see the mic.
So I'm not sure who I'm speaking to, but the
One of the Daves.
one of the days.
Dave Howard.
But you know that the second laptop that's sort of facing into the crowd in the room,
Yeah.
you should mute that one because you get a bit of reverb when you have two laptops together.
So this one gets the reverb.
No.
That one. That's
That one, I would turn that one off, and this one at the mic we can hear you.
Get in. Which one? Hi, Wendy.
Hi, Irma.
Hi, Irma.
Hi, Susan.
You
I don't
look great.
remember to look into.
Look here. Hand you this one.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Anyways, just wanted to say hi. I'm here.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
glad you're there, Irma.
Like the T-shirt.
what time is it? Is it time we may as well get things started? There's a lot of people here. A lot of familiar faces, which is, I guess, good, which means that these are people that are friends and hero Toms. So there's like a lot of different aspects of Tom. There are people who know Tom from karaoke. There's people who know Tom from high school. There's people who know Tom who's lived with them. People who knew Tom here from Comic Jam. I wanted to maybe try and bring us all together to maybe try and fill in like the gaps, because I only knew Tom. Oh, by the way, hi everyone. My name is David Bragdon. I'm a person who goes to the Comic Jam. I've been coming to the Comic Jam for a while. Not as long as Tom. Tom's been coming to the Comic Jam since 1999, and this is like a big part of his life. But a lot of you are like a big part of Tom's life, and I'd like to maybe bridge the gap, and so get to know Tom a little bit better. We're here at the Cameron House. Thank you, Cameron House, for hosting us. This is the Comic Jam. For those of you who've never been to a Comic Jam before, it's not stand-up comics. So Scott Thompson, we're not asking you to do a set, or probably you guys can sit and relax. So the Comic Jam, one person just draws a panel, someone else draws another panel, and we just keep on going until we get a book. And this was a big thing for Tom's life. Since Tom started coming, Dave Howard is fond of saying that he was already starting to join in and organize the books, post them online, create a website so he can post this. This is like a big thing for Tom. So it may be odd to be hosting a memorial for Scott, not Scott. He's not dead yet. Sorry. But we'll be here for when he does and do the same thing. But no, for Tom. So it may be odd to host like a memorial or celebration of life for Scott, for Tom, Thomas John King here at a Comic Jam where people are drawing. But I think this is also symbolic because during the pandemic, Tom kept the Comic Jam alive, where he would just be talking. He'd be sometimes calling in while he's at work washing dishes and talking about all the comics that we're doing. Tom was really the glue that kept the Comic Jam together. And so I think it's only fitting that we have the Comic Jam here at the Cameron House during a Comic Jam. And people feel free to draw and talk and listen in, because that's what I would be doing. I'd be going on Zoom, just listening to everyone talking while we're drawing at home. Feel free to grab some boards and draw if you like. If you don't want to, you can just sit back and relax. We're just going to be talking, sharing memories of Tom, and that's pretty much it. And without ado, I guess Frank would like to go next.
Yeah, so we're all here. And Tom was such a sweet guy, and he was always going above and beyond for everybody all the time. And he helped put my web comic up. He helped put a few people's web comics up. He really believed in what we were doing, and he was a great supporter. And he did my website, and he would just in conversation. He was never trying to. It was always accidental. It really was. Whenever he said, "Oh yeah, and I paid all this." Like, all this extra stuff, these extra expenses for this website. I had no idea that he was doing it. And I said, Tom, you got to tell me about this stuff, Tom. And you go, well, And, the thing that really hammered it home was I had to look after this Doberman for an ex-wife. And I'm stuck with this savage-looking animal. And one time I had to go leave Toronto for about a week or so, and I asked if anyone could help look after this Doberman. And Tom was the only one who stepped up, and I brought him over, and he got to meet the dog. And I mean, the dog was friendly, but it scared the shit out of people. And he looked after it. It was years later. I found a picture of the dog on an old phone, and I put it on Facebook. And Tom goes, "Oh yeah, Toffee." That was a pretty intense pooch. Every time he came into I live I'm on the top floor of a house in there. So you gotta come into the house, there's a hallway, and then there's my door, steps going up. And every time, apparently every 4 days, the dog will ape shit, barking on the other side of the door. And Tom said I had to wait 10 minutes for it to calm down before I'd open the door. I'm like, I had no idea that he did all that he went through that. He would just say these things like he wasn't trying to get any reward or anything. He just, it was just like, when he told me anything extra that he did, it was never, Tom was not the sort of guy. And the fact that it was like years later that he told me that he had to go through that for 4 days in a row with that dog, I was like, and I mean, I guess the other thing was, he was always a great host. I was at a few of his places. Tom was just a very, very generous, sweet guy, and I wish he could know how much that he meant to all of us. Thank you.
Maybe I'm not sure when we first met, but he too has helped me with the website. My graphic novel through Sun Squad was on a webcomic before it was published, and he helped maintain the website whenever I'm not very computer savvy, so whenever there was a problem with the he was very generous. He would often host parties in his apartment in Hyde Park area, and I have fond memories many times when we would have barbecues. He was also very into karaoke, which I'm also very into, and so it was just comic jam for me with Dominic was also karaoke. And this shirt actually is something I was wearing too. This was the infamous shirt that has a tie to Margaret Atwood, because I think she got a copy of it and she autographed it, and then this might even be worth money. That's what I've heard, because of the link to Margaret Atwood. But these were shirts that he was involved in the making of, and of course Rob Ford, because he gave the finger. I can't remember the story behind this incident, but these shirts were made as a joke because of him giving a reporter or woman the finger. Anyway, I'm going to read a poem by Rumi, which I think is very beautiful about death. I read it at my father's memorial, and it's very hopeful about death, because I feel personally, take it or leave it, that there is life beyond death. But this is a beautiful take on that, if you choose to believe that. And it's just a lovely poem, and it touched me when I heard it. So I want to read it because it's beautiful. So, on the day I die, when I am being carried toward the grave, don't weep. Don't say he's gone, he's gone. Death has nothing to do with going away. The sun sets and the moon sets, but they are not gone. Death is the coming together. The tomb looks like a prison, but it is really release into union. The human seed goes down into the ground, like a bucket into the well where Joseph is. It grows and comes up full of some unimagined beauty. Your mouth closes here and immediately opens with a shout of joy. Thank you.
Thank you. Grandma.
Oh,
It's all right. Take your
She
time.
can't do it. Not yet.
Say a few words.
I'd like to say a few words. How do we facilitate?
Well, you're on the iPad. I could put you up to the mic, but I think it's quite enough in here that people can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, Susan, shall I kick off?
If you wish, you go and then I can follow.
Yeah.
Because I think Irma wants to speak too.
Yeah, I'll give her a chance there. Hello, everyone. I certainly don't recognize, I'm Tom's sister, Wendy. I recognize a couple of faces, but not too many. Irma's here. And where is Scott Thompson?
Here, I'm dead.
Oh, he's right there. Okay, great. That's good to hear because some of my stories, and I'm going to try and keep this brief and light, and it's tough.
We're frozen.
Earliest memories of Tom is really drawing cartoons. He was about 3 years old and he was always drawing cartoons and always carrying around his sketch.
Oh, you froze again?
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
that's happens.
I forgot to mention that like we're using Dave Howard's work Wi-Fi, so if it crashes, work Wi-Fi, but it may crash.
Yeah, I might turn off my video because I'm up in the mountains and it does get sketchy. And even though I'm on one of the toasters in the sky with Elon, it doesn't always work. So I'm going to turn off my video and get back to my brief comments. So Tom was always interested in, certainly in drawing and art. He always had ideas, and my sister Susan can attest to this. We were always having plays in the backyard. We were always making up adventures when we were up at the cottage. And I know he was a roommate of Scott Thompson's in very early days. And I do remember when I mentioned the cottage that one time Scott was up at the cottage and my mom was there, and it's a great place to be, and Tom liked to be there. And I don't even know if you guys were filming in my old Camaro. I can't quite remember. But long story short, anyways, it was quite an adventure. And my mom was talking to me on the phone because all of our siblings, we never really lived in the same city. So we were all across Canada throughout our childhood and even our teenage and our other adult years. But one of the quotes that I love from my mother, and Scott, this is kind of for you. My mother said, "I think he's like that because he doesn't eat enough vegetables." And it was a classic. And Tom used to, he says, "Imagine Mom said that." And I said, "Well, she came from a different generation." But Tom really had a lot of imagination, and I want to give him credit. I can be very analytical. I can be very linear and mathematical. And Thomas gave me imagination when we were younger. His nickname was the Little Chum. And I mean, even when he was in high school, he took on the yearbook when he was 12 years old and just always put 150% into anything he did. The other thing we have to admit is that Tom had some pretty good humor and some pretty good insights into everyday life. And those are the memories I cherish.
All right.
Over to you, Susan.
Okay. Hello, everyone. You have a beautiful venue there. It looks really awesome. I want to tell about the first time I met my brother. Tom was born in Fort Churchill, Manitoba, it was called, November 19th, 1959. And it was a small base, and it was very cold. And my dad took my sister and I to see Tom for the very first time on a toboggan. And he pulled us on the toboggan to the small hospital, and we went in, and Tom burped. And my mom said, "That's Tom saying hello." And I said, "Okay, he's going to be different than Wendy." We have great memories of Tom. As Wendy said, he was always drawing. He loved animation. He was fascinated by cartoons. He loved Mary Poppins when he was younger. He would play it over and over again. And I think he was captivated by the characters that were in it. We often went to the cottage together, and Tom and I liked to fish. And so we were out one day, fishing and he had a fish finder, as people have been saying. He didn't do anything half-assed. He went all in. He got a fish finder, he studied it, and so we went to this really great spot to fish. And I hauled in this fish, and it actually jumped on the boat. And Tom yelled, "My God, what have you got? That's the poisonous fish in the world." And I almost jumped out of the boat. Of course, he was, he was joking. It was a catfish. But I do want to reflect when he moved here to have his hip operation, which really went well. He helped me a lot when we were moving. I sold my house and we moved into the apartment, and he stayed with me, and he was coming up every other day for dinner. And on the sadder note about what happened, we still can't quite grasp that he's gone. At least for me, it's hard to believe, because I keep saying to my daughter, "Oh, I'll get Tom to come for dinner." But we often tried to get him help. And he was seeing people, but it wasn't enough. And that's the sad part about it all. As many of you have mentioned, he was very generous, not only with his time, but with his talents. He would often take on projects that took a lot out of him. And I know that the Comic Jam and the people were very dear to him. And I truly miss him. He was a person a brother who would always hold me to task if I did something stupid. There was no holding back, and I did a lot of things stupidly, but that would be me. He would boss me around in my kitchen, and I would get mad at him for doing that. I said, "Tom, this is my kitchen," but he had a certain way of doing things. We will all miss him dearly. It still is we're trying to settle in with everything that happened. And I am so glad that Irma is there tonight, because Irma was a friend through all of this, and he cherished that friendship greatly. That's about what I have to say. Try not to be emotional about it all, but it is, of course, emotional. That's it for me. Thank you. And thank you for all being there. There we go.
Try now, because in case I get overwhelmed, then you can go and then try not to. Worked on this eulogy for quite some time, so I want to read it to you guys. And everybody, I'm Irma. First, I'd like to thank the organizers of the Toronto Comic Jam for hosting this tribute and for opening it up to many of us here to join in. I would like to express my heartfelt sympathy to Tom's family, Susan and Sarah in Fredericton, and Wendy and Paula Weston, BC, as well as to all of Tom's friends for their loss in life. Just gonna take a sip of beer. So I have known Tom for about 34 years, but it wasn't until the last 14 years since my mom passed away that we became even closer as friends than we had ever been. Tom was a loyal friend. Both he and my partner were instrumental in helping me cope through the thick and thin of everything after my mom had passed away. Tom and I lived in my mom's old house on Parkside Drive for quite a number of years in different parts of the house, kind of migrated from the attic to the basement and so on, and even while she was still alive. So Tom remained there for some years after I sold it. Tom had stayed with us out there in the boonies of southwestern Ontario, where I live now, being the old tobacco country, for about 6 months before leaving for his hip replacement surgery in New Brunswick last summer of 2023. Little did I know that when I was dropping him off at the Via Rail station in Woodstock, Ontario, to catch his flight from Toronto to Fredericton, that would be the last time that I would ever see him. Now that everything is blurry. I met Tom through Randall and Lauren when I was in my 3rd year at art school, OCA. Back then in 1990, at a Christmas party that they were hosting on Massey Street. We were asked to bring a handmade Christmas ornament for their tree. When I arrived at their place, I beelined straight for their tree to hang out my ornament. But when I got there and was looking for space on the tree to hang it, I was quite startled to see a very unusual ornament hanging there. And I was so struck by this unconventional Christmas tree decoration that from that moment on, I had a realization that there and then I just had to meet this person who had made it. And of course, it turned out to be Tom. And that was the beginning of our beautiful friendship. To say that Tom had an unusual perspective on life would be an understatement. And what drew me to him was his quirky way of seeing things and his storytelling, which, with his hilarious sense of humor and his bizarre experiences, which, by the way, back then, I never thought there was anything wrong with moving out of a sketchy roommate situation using a cot folded in half like a suitcase with one's personal belongings stuffed in between. I just thought how cool that was and how authentic. And that is how I always perceived Tom. He was definitely original and out of the box thinker. In our early days, Tom and I started hanging out together when I had my studio loft on Niagara Street here in Toronto, inside a building that used to be a profit-making factory next door to an abattoir. Well, those were the good old days. It was Tom who introduced me to computers. It's between the A drive and the C drive using DOS. In fact, he brought over his old dot matrix printer to my studio, and we printed many test documents in the old Courier font. Again, those were the good old days. We also spent quite a bit of time in a nearby my old hood, which I remember, if I remember correctly, was called the Toad in the Hole. Tom described hangovers like crashing through the atmosphere inside a space shuttle. But he always stressed the importance of having some kind of stick it to your ribs type of meal the next day to get through the aftermath of the Toad in the Hole. He retained that philosophy for many years to come. Tom and I always looked out for one another. Sometime later, the Niagara Street Studio Loft enterprise to get Tom out of yet another sketchy roommate scenario. I convinced him to move into my mom's house on Parkside Drive, which was across the road from Hyde Park. I told him that my mom had a vacant room there and that perhaps it would be safer if he stayed there with us. I ran it by my mom and she was okay with that too. I don't remember the year, but after some nudging and convincing, he complied. And while I was in and out of that house, Tom was a constant. Once he moved in, he stayed. I remember coming home one night late around 2 a.m. through the back alleyway, and I don't know what got into me, but I decided to play a little practical joke on Tom, not realizing just how it would backfire on me. I had no idea that that night I would tap into Tom's central nervous system when I gently rattled on the glass. The intent was to spook him gently, but it took me quite a while to settle Tom down once I managed to convince him that he was not in any imminent danger. I don't think that he ever forgave me for that one. Regardless, I knew to never startle Tom in the middle of the night ever again. A little anecdote about Tom and plants. I had always appreciated Tom and his talent for computer programming, but After living across the road from one of the most beautiful parks in the city, I decided it was time to familiarize Tom with some living things, such as plants. The cherry blossom season was at its peak, and I convinced Tom to go with me to appreciate the blossoms. So on the way home, he remarked that he didn't know that plants could evoke so much emotion in a human being. From that point on, I knew that I had broken Tom into the plant world. Although he never acquired any plants of his own, he looked after many of mine. Tom was such a dreamer. My mom had become quite fond of him. She used to affectionately call him the absent-minded professor. His head was in the clouds. He always would forget something somewhere, like his wallet at the bar, or house keys, or forget to move the car, or so that he wouldn't get a parking ticket or even get his car towed, and so on. Even later, I don't know how many times he would travel back to his restaurant job at the Liberty Street Village because he thought he had left the back door unlocked. I eventually suggested a checklist at the end of the shift to save him some grief. I always remember Tom drawing and practicing his music in his basement apartment at Parkside Drive. He would always be working on some riff, getting ready for Mount Congress. There were times that I even dabbled in some electric guitar fumbling with Tom. There's one song called Lovable Monster that I remember practicing with him. So at some point, I decided I would introduce Tom to yoga, Kundalini yoga. After my teacher training, I was looking for guinea pigs, so I dragged Tom from one yoga studio to another and introduced him to some of my instructors, gurus, who became quite fond of him as well. But Tom would always say to me, "Oh, I'm not very coordinated," or "I'm the world's most inflexible man." In fact, I remember at one of the classes at the Y, it took him about 10 minutes to get untangled from a cross-legged position and to move into the next pose, while the rest of the class had already done 4 of them. And when he was still in Fredericton, we even had a few sessions via Zoom before his plan to move back to Ontario this fall. So Tom and I traveled together a fair bit within Canada. We visited other provinces to meet his family and friends. But the one trip that we took, which stands out in my mind the most, is when he drove backwards onto the on-ramp that merged with a highway when passing through Montreal. Tom was in the process of explaining to me how important it was to not miss the exit on the Montreal highway. Or you would end up in some never land, and good luck finding your way back without having to drive around the entire city. And of course, those were the days before the GPS. And when you know it, just at that very moment, he drove right by the exit that we had to take. And then the unimaginable happened. Before I had a chance to think, Mr. King proceeded to drive backwards onto the on-ramp from where we came, honking his horn and screaming at the top of his lungs with the windows rolled down. And he turned to me and said, "Oh, don't worry, I just want to make sure that no one will drive into us." He reassured me as I slowly sank down into my seat. I was absolutely mortified, but miraculously we got back on track without any casualties or the highway patrol spotting us. So mental note, don't miss any exits when driving through Montreal with Tom. In spite of these mishaps or misadventures, Tom, nevertheless, was my best friend, my go-to person. About almost anything, computers especially. But he also had this non-judgmental quality about him, and so it made it easy for me to open up to him. he was the type of person who put other people's needs before his own. And he always had my back, no matter what. In the recent years, he was really good at giving me feedback on my paintings and my art. I would text him some images of works in progress or finished pieces, and I always found his commentaries very helpful and encouraging. In fact, he was always encouraging of me. I remember when Tom joined the Toronto Comic Jam about 20 years ago. He told me so much about it and how he had found his tribe. I even attended one of the earliest jam sessions with him. He took so much pride in designing the interactive website for the jammers during the pandemic. The Comic Jam was Tom's lifeline, and talking to him after his hip surgery, he told me that the only thing he wanted was to be back in Toronto with the jammers and for everything to just go back to the way things were before. Anyway, to wrap up my eulogy to Tom, I just want to say how much I miss him now and will miss him, as all of you will as well. Tom was one damn good friend who's left a huge void in my life. And on the last note, I just want to say this, and it may sound a bit corny, so brace yourselves. I got a box of Kleenex there to pack. You came into my life like an asteroid, Tom, but you departed leaving. A massive crater. I hope that you have found your peace, Major Tom. Thank you all for listening.
Yeah, so, sorry. What? Hi. Yeah, I was the second person kind of running the gym back in the day, and after Dave Howard had family to spend time with, he had a young daughter. So sort of the jam sort of got handed over to myself, and kind of stewarded it along for a while, and things were good, and then until they weren't, and the jam was kind of getting shaky ground. It was almost the numbers had dwindled, and I was coming back from I played in the summer. I played ball hockey in Riverdale, and I was coming back one night. I was like, it's 10. It's after 10. It's like I can't do this. So I called Tom, and it's like, don't worry about it. And he really saved the jam. It was on very shaky ground, and over the years, Tom and I became very close friends. How much I kind of depended on him, really feeling so many times in the last while. I've wanted to had something, heard something, and wanted to talk to him, and they're like, oh, but damn. So it's been a tough while. Just a couple of quick vignettes about Tom. Had come back from Fredericton to change his ID, and he had arrived in the morning. He was going to go over to College Park to stand in line and do his whatever he had to do to change his ID or his OHIP or whatnot. And I said, I'm coming over. And he's like, you don't have to, don't worry for it. I'm like, I'm coming. So it's huge, no windows, it's horrific. It's literally like they're just going out next. We sat there for about 2 hours and had a great time just talking about same old stuff, pop culture, et cetera. So he went up, his number's called, and there was a bit of a question about whether he brought all the right ID and whether this was going to actually happen or not. So I'm looking, and then the woman next to us, we were talking to each other, both looking at each other, is this going to happen? And he turned around and gave us the thumbs up, and I was like, oh my God, okay, let's go bug squishy and then go get a beer. And that's what we did. The second little story is didn't often get it together enough to leave Toronto. We did once a comic festival in Guelph. We managed to, Tom drove us out. We had a great time. Second time was there was a comic show in I think 1999 or not 1999, 2019, and we actually got it together enough. This comic show was in Hamilton. It was ending soon, and I was like, Tom, we've got to get on this, and we did. So we went out to Hamilton. I didn't know that he had a friend waiting for him there, and she was a lovely woman, but it was apparent that she wasn't having a very good time of it, and I like to think in the end I do the right thing, but it doesn't come naturally to me. So I'd always kind of really sort of studied Tom because his generosity just came to him. Like it was just a part of who he was. He didn't mention that he needed anything accidentally to Tom because he would get on it. I happened to mention that my iPad died, and he shipped me an old MacBook that he refurbished, and he sent the mouse, he sent me the batteries for it. Like it was just the shipping. I was like, Tom, you didn't have to do this, but it's like just part of who he is. And so, anyways, on that trip, he was just such a gentle person with her. We had lunch. He paid for slipped her a bit of money, bought her some groceries, and we went and saw the exhibit, and it just was, it's just evidence of how kind that person was. And, yeah. That's how it went with Tom.
There. I'm Dave Howard. Just wanted to say to everybody, thank you for coming up and speaking and talking about Tom. We want to remember his wonderful, generous spirit. We want to we know Tom's not here, and we wish he was. And I think it's time to take stock in the community that Tom really helped create. All of us, whether you're Jam, or your friends, or your family, Tom's still alive, goodness, just by the skin of his teeth. And so that's what I'm feeling, that what we're taking away from what's happening with Tom. It's now this year where we have to come together and be a little more like Tom and look after each other. Check. Make sure we're okay. Go that extra mile. Ask that question you wouldn't normally ask. Give somebody a phone call. For me, that's what I want to take away from Tom's legacy this year. A lot of people have talked about, what made Tom special. And Irma mentioned it, and Dalton mentioned it. It was really Tom's generosity. He was a special person. It's taken me some while to really think about what was it about Tom that was so special about it. And really, I felt like what it was is he had this capacity for empathy. He had like a vast intellect. I mean, he could practically have a conversation by himself. You could say 3 things, and he would add 100 other different things. I couldn't mention anything without him mentioning whether it's a philosopher, or an artist, or a musician, or a movie, or an art piece, or something. He really saw the big picture. And not only that, but he had this way of understanding what it is you're asking. And he had this way of not patronizing you, not sympathizing with you, but he would empathize. I really felt like when I talked to Tom, he was getting what I was saying. Whether it was a good thing, I mean, we knew each other for a long time, whether it was a good thing, a bad thing, a dark thing, or a light thing, a jam thing, I knew that I could say anything to Tom. And that if, you know, if you needed help, Tom would not hesitate to help. So that's something I really want to take away from Tom. He was, I would say, and I think it was Irma who said it, or somebody said it, that he was not judgmental. He could judge. And he had a very good wit. But he always cared. He always cared about the people that he talked about, the people that he was with. And for that, I have a great deal of respect for him. He came to the Jam around 2000. We had started, he came through, I think Alan Bunce invited him. I think he was coming from the Nirvana crowd. We've been doing it for a couple of years. And as soon as he came and the camera here, the first thing he said was like, how can I help? What can I do? And he saw something that he could do. He took the Jam books, you know, we print them up every month, the people that draw. And he would scan them and put them online in PDFs. This was 2000. Year 2000, you know, the internet was still new and young. We got a little bit of attention. We were in a magazine. We're in now. We were in iMagazine, and it was, oh my goodness, now the camera's going to be backed. And Tom told me that that night and a few nights, him and some people at his work building the website for the Comic Jam before this big event. He said, we got to get this done because, you know, everybody's going to come and it's going to get all this attention and, you know, we have to support it. And so he did that. And even then, I didn't know him that well. And yet this was something that he felt like he needed to do. And he pulled it out. He pulled it through. I did what I could to help him with the website. He's so generous. He taught me so the web, URLs, how to set up the website. I could call him up, say, how do you do this thing? And he would tell me. He just had a wonderful way of sharing and working together. Yeah, he did it for many years, and he was. I know that he worked on the collaborative Jam site for many years, and when the pandemic came, he worked night and day, coding from scratch to build this so that people could join online and draw together online. He had set up a Discord, a discussion group, just a reference of it. Every week, so many people in this room connect, talk, without, you know, during the pandemic, not going outside. It was such a, you know, it was a little bit more of a novelty for the Teams meetings, for the online meetings at that time, for many people. And he set it up, and I heard again and again how the people that joined the weekly comic jams online with Tom building this website, it saved their sanity. It really saved. The popularity of the website went through the roof. Tom was ecstatic. And there's so much online that he put together, that he created. And I know that this year he decided, you know, to take a step back, shut down the website. He said, I'm getting too into it. You know, he talked about his mental health and getting too attached to it and too upset. But I didn't notice that there was a secondary website that he had set up and he did not shut down. That website has got all or most of, or much of, the work that so many people put into creating art on the collaborative jam site. Before he moved on, before he shut down the site, he went through all that work to archive everything that was on. I guess he didn't want to take it away from him. So when I was shocked when I found that out. And so it was like a treasure trove. So there's a treasure trove of work out there that Tom took the time to curate an archive and put online. It's still there. Tom was a thoughtful man, a kind man. And we miss him. We wish he had come back. he did not. And I think what we can do is to look out for each other. Do that thing, make that phone call, say that thing, have another drink. Do that for Tom. I want to thank Irma for bringing the massive amount of food in the back. Please help yourself. I want to invite now anybody who would like to come up and say something about Tom, or say anything at all that you would like. Please feel free.
Toast.
I have leisure, and then
Toast to
please.
Tom.
Here's to
And
Tom.
I don't have anything to drink. I got something to show.
Short poem by Robert Burns.
Oh.
It goes like this. An honest man, trying to do it without breaking my voice. An honest man lies here at rest, as ere God with his image blessed. A friend of man, a friend of age, and a guide to youth. Few hearts with virtue warmed, few heads with knowledge. If there's another world, he lives in bliss. If there is none, made the best of this. Thank you, Tom.
Carolina. I guess I've known Tom for over 15 years, and the way I met him was kind of funny. I met him through my friend Scott, and right away I noticed that Scott and Tom had a kind of brother-like relationship. Couldn't tell which one was the older brother despite their age difference, because they would try to keep each other out of trouble. So sometimes Scott was trying to keep Tom out of trouble, and sometimes the other way around. Especially one of them had a few too many beers. They had many adventures together and also a lot of misadventures. As soon as I met Tom, we hit it off really well. I don't think I've ever met another person that got me as much as Tom did. I've never had an argument or a disagreement with Tom. I don't think I can say that about any person that I've ever met. Just something really flowed very well in that friendship. And after I met him, I guess I invited him over for New Year's Eve at my house. And he got along really well with everybody who was there. So that started kind of a long period of time where anytime there was any kind of get together or party, Tom was always invited. He was sort of the guest of honor. My friend Scott had lived at a place with a rooftop patio, and so Tom loved to come up, and any kind of occasion, birthday, or anything special, he'd come up and we'd put food together. And there was one
you get?
fateful time where brought together fireworks and we almost blew out the roof. Lots of pictures from that occasion. My hobby is photography, so one thing that I'm really, really glad about is that I would always pester Tom to post for pictures. So I have many, many, many pictures of Tom, over 15 years of pictures. At first, he was very hesitant, saying he doesn't photograph well. But once he saw some of the pictures, he said, "You made me look handsome. You can do this anytime you want." And so after that, yeah, I just, I took a lot of videos. Tom really liked to go to karaoke as well with also Scott and a bunch of my friends. So we have videos from karaoke. What else am I forgetting? I guess like the memorable thing was that Tom really liked to prepare these elaborate family-style dinners. He would have us, me and Scott and a couple other friends over at his place at Parkside Drive. And we would watch old movies like silent films and movies from the 1940s, which was kind of also my thing. So I was very happy about it. And he would cook us these elaborate dinners like steak and potatoes and Yorkshire pudding, and just like this really nice and family-like atmosphere. And I guess after we did this, you know, quite a few times, I went up to him and I said, Tom, like you do all this nice stuff, but I didn't notice anybody else inviting you over for dinner and cooking for you. This is wrong. This is ridiculous. So I told him, you know what, from now on, I'll make the dinners and you come over and you just chill out. So he started coming over to my house and I would cook the dinner, or my boyfriend would cook the dinners. And he really enjoyed it. And he was always very like surprised by it. He was just like, that's very nice, but why are you doing this? And I was like, why wouldn't I be kind to you when you're kind to everybody? You know, he was always surprised if somebody would give back and do something nice. And I said, Tom, you deserve the best. You deserve people to treat you really well. I used to always joke around with him and say, there is no life without the king. And that was like a saying that he would always laugh at, and he'd just be like, no, don't say that. And I was just like, you're the king of everything. You know, and a lot of people called him that. He had another nickname, Commander Tom. He would always be announced as Commander Tom at karaoke. I guess he was really, really kind to my boyfriend who moved here from the US 8 years ago. And he didn't have many friends here. Tom embraced him immediately because they were both computer programmers. That backfired for me in a massive way because I'd want to hang out with my friend Tom and they just start talking programming. And by the time they got through all the programming languages, there was a lot less time to hang out. So sometimes we wouldn't finish the movie. But they had a really nice relationship. And I guess before Tom was gone, they worked on a project for Tom's sister, The Cube. My boyfriend helped with a little bit with the programming because this was during the pandemic and things were pretty rough. And Tom was really happy with how it turned out. And I remember him talking a lot about the Comic Jam and saying that it was really important to him. In fact, anytime we were supposed to have a get together and Tom wouldn't show up, which was very rare, it was because he was like, no, right now I have to prepare the Comic Jam stuff. That's most important. That's like the number one thing that I want to do. So I remember how much time he put into the Comic Jam and how it felt like it was really important. And it was like, you know, one of the biggest parts of his life. And Tom really loved music. He loved old movies. And he got along with everybody, I guess. He was very, very kind. But he was also, he could be mean, and he could be mean in the funniest way. He'd have a couple of beers and all of a sudden he'd get up and he'd go in the middle of the room and yell something out about a person that, you know, pissed him off. And it was always hilarious. And so we'd always try to capture those moments on video because we knew it doesn't happen very often. And he'd be really embarrassed about it afterwards. But that's what made Tom Tom. I guess I was in touch with him till the very end, and he had his ups and downs, and there were definitely some ups that people didn't know about. I felt like people always assumed that it was all bad, but it wasn't. There was a lot of hope. There was a lot of funny moments. And I guess he shared a lot of art and a lot of really wonderful things with me before he was gone. And I know that he would want everybody to remember all the good times, I guess, and just remember his legacy at the Comic Jam and his legacy as a really good friend. And I guess that's all I get.
Hi, it's just Susan again. I just want to, hello. I just want, my daughter Sarah would like to say just a few things. She's got COVID, so it's
kind of far away.
But-
Can you hear me?
you can sit in my chair.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I just wanted to say about Tom. I was before social media was the thing. I got to see his name on my favorite cartoons. I got to say, that's my uncle, and he did this, and he colored it. And I am still proud to this day that he's my uncle. No matter that he's gone, I'm still very proud that he's my uncle. And I got to see his name on something that he loved, because I love art as well. And it helped shape me as a person as well, because if he can do it, I can do it. Oh, I felt so cool when his name came up in the captions or the credits, sorry. And you know, this was back in the 90s. And so but I got to say, that's my uncle. That's my uncle's name. And he did this. And I've always been so proud of him. And I know everyone is so proud of him. And we will miss him. But I know that I can still look up a cartoon and I can see what he did. And he did a lot for all of us. So thank you. I just want to say that. Sorry, I'm a little teary. I'm COVID, so feeling worse than ever, and this is a hard thing, but I will never not be proud to say that is Tom King, my uncle, and he did that, and he was a fantastic person, and we all loved him very much, and we will miss him.
Very nice, Sarah.
Well done.
Anybody else like to say anything? Tom stories? Scott.
Yes, I'm talking about me. I can hear all talking about me. Yeah, it's a weird thing. Pretty much everything they said about him is true, I think. All the aspects of him were pretty true. He was scatterbrained. He would fly off on tangents with his temper sometimes. We were drinking buddies. We met sort of early 2000s, Comic Gen and karaoke, and then so he knew friends from all these different places. But yeah, he wouldn't judge. And we got to get really good friends. We hung out quite a bit. Even during COVID, we would hang out, which now everyone's saying, no, don't do that. But those were the times. Anyways, it's just kind of hard to take it all in. When it did happen, you know, you do wish he'd been able to get back here. But he had to leave. You know, he got his surgery. So that's what happened. That's how it goes. I think a lot of people in this generation, they have these different stages of life. There are other people I know it's like that too. They seem to have different careers and different things they did. But he would tell me all these things. Grew up Toronto in the 80s and 90s. He went to all these concerts, all these shows. So we had this shared love of music and comics. So he was a really good friend. And probably I won't meet someone like him ever again, for sure. So yeah, I'll just go before I start bawling. But all right, thanks. And I'm glad we all knew him.
Hi, I'm Scott. I'm alive. Hi, how you doing? I feel like I have to say something. So I'm not a ghost. Tom, we were speaking about different stages of people's lives. I have met Tom at the nice stage when you're very young and you're just leaving home.
Give him a drink.
meet the people that are gonna be with you, you know, for your whole life. You meet these people at university. We were at York University. We all met. We all believe Tom and Randall and Brian Nelson. We all were in Vanier, the same, you know, residence. And I don't remember the circumstances of how I met Tom. I didn't prepare anything, but all I think he was just hilarious. I mean, I think people, I mean, everyone mentions that. Yes, he was kind and generous and all of those things, but when you're 19, you're not looking for that. You're looking for hilarity and people that have a very interesting way of looking at the world. Tom was one of those people that looked at the world in a very, very cockeyed manner. And I did myself. It was like a real, you know, this like a real, you know, these are the brothers that I met back then. And we lived together in various shitholes. This place is still a shithole. That's good to hear. Good to know. Some things don't change. No, I mean that in a good way. But it does feel kind of like we're in Toronto in the night that is there. And we did go to a lot of concerts, and we formed a band. And when we all met at York, basically our friendship was, let's make stuff. And Tom was someone who always wanted to make stuff. It didn't matter what it was. It would be a film or a cartoon, or, I mean, if you said I wanted to choreograph a dance, you go, yeah, I'll get all my tap shoes. Like he just did nothing. He was just always game for everything. And we had an awful lot of fun. And, but then, you know, definitely, he was so smart, and he had such a great knowledge of the world. And we went through those years, those, you know, like 10, 15 years when you're with these people all the time, like 24/7. We lived together, we partied together, people had sex with the same, you know what I mean? Like, you know, young, you know, there's young people here, you know, it's like you're still doing it. I mean, is there anyone young who's still, you know what I'm talking about? Inappropriate relationships, breaking the law occasionally, but I can't talk, there are so many stories, but I did want to tell a story about the roommates, and was talking about his questionable roommates, and I hope I wasn't one of them, but I fear I was. But I don't think he got out of living with me in a questionable or illegal manner. There was one, and I won't say his name, of the person. Tom was so terrified of this guy that he moved up bit by bit through his window. Like every day, he'd like take something out of his window until his room was empty. And he finally left the window and then closed the window, and that was the end of it. That's how Tom lived. But there's no lease or anything. I had the places that he lived, people didn't have places. We didn't have places in a lot of places we lived. There was a place we lived. I mean, I'm going to say, we made coffee with underwear. It was a new pair of underwear, but we didn't do that. But so funny, but definitely everybody has their corners. And Tom did have a temper, and he did go off, and he could be very questionable at times. But I live in a glass house, so it's very hard for me to talk about Tom's temper. But it's funny that we're here at the Cameron House, because that is the last. Tom and I were very tight. And then we had one of those fights when you're young. You know, we weren't even that young actually. We were probably 38. But it was at the Cameron, and I don't even remember what it was, but I'm sure it was me that was at fault, because the man was a saint, so it couldn't have been him. But at the time, I probably thought it was all Tom, you know, and now I realize, no, it's probably you. You were an asshole. But, you know, and then our friendship kind of, you know, you're not as close, but you still see each other. You're always checking in, and but it's always there whenever you see each other. You always have that chemistry. But, you know, and I remember when he went out I hadn't seen him a lot at all. I saw him maybe a year before he left to New Brunswick, and I thought, well, and then I thought when he comes back, I'll get that friendship going again like it used to be. But then it didn't happen, and these things, this happens a lot. And if there's young out there who's thinking, I don't need this person, you will, and you forgive them because you know what? It's probably you that's at fault. Because if it was a fight with Tom, it was you. Unless it was when you were drunk, then it could have been Tom. Anyways, I love Tom, and I'm gonna really miss him. Okay, that's it.
I just have a few things to say. My name's Jordan. I started coming to the jam in like 2016 or 2017. And I would see Tom here, and he would never be drawing. He would just be here because he loved the people and he loved the community. And I would be curious who this person was. And I'd see him and we would just like slowly start chatting. Be like, so you drawing anything today? He's like, no, I'm not drawing anything. What is he doing here? What is he doing here? Who is this person? And then I finally would see him drawing, and I was like, whoa, I love this guy's drawings. They're so full of life and lighthearted and really funny. And then when lockdown happened, we started to talk online, and I was really a part of like the online jam, going there every week, and it just seeing his passion for the website and for the community, it was just so inspiring. And like I heard earlier, like I couldn't believe how much he worked on his website and that's so great. And everyone, all the jammers are like, it's perfect, Tom, it's perfect. Like we don't need anything else. And then sure enough, next week is like this whole new iteration of the website. It was completely amazing. And I only hope that I could be like half inspiring as this guy. And we love you. I miss you.
I only came to Comic Jam once in the past and had a great time. And I met Tom about, I think it was 5 years ago, through my good friend Squishy. And when she hosted a walkabout in my park. And one of my least favorite like social things ever is when you're leaving a thing and someone else is that you don't know at all happens to be going the same direction and is like going in every single like connection that you are too. There's a great Mr. Show sketch about that exact phenomenon, which captures it perfectly. And I recall that like, Tom, there's several people there, and I think I just didn't really get to talk to him at that walkabout at all. We were at High Park all day. And I think it was just one of those like, oh, you're going the same way too. Oh, okay. And I have never had like a better, or let's say like the only not annoying version of that thing ever in my life. Tom was masterful in that moment at first impressions. And we chit-chatted about Comic Jam, and I thought that was pretty funny because I already been to Comic Jam and knew a Comic Jam, and he went right for the like Comic Jam promo like line and this and that and about the power of community and this and that. And I'm not mocking that at all. That's awesome. Like he held it so deeply in his like heart and core of his being. And then we're just chit-chatting on the whole way back about just DVDs and technology and Apple computers and this and that. And so we parted ways. And then just something magical happened too, where I kept seeing Tom around town. I see him at the odd movie here or there at different venues and or concerts and stuff too. And he just always remember me and like something to approach me and chit chat. And it was just, my God, it's just like one of those great people that like you could tell from that first encounter, like people like who know this fellow are just so lucky to know him. And I wish I got to know him longer than just that first meeting 5 years ago. So I'm very, very happy to be here tonight with all of you to hear your stories as well.
pressure.
It's Wendy. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Just while there's a little gap here or whatever, and you guys, I hear there's food there as well. But anyways, I just really wanted to say that, you know, when I was out in New Brunswick earlier in the summer and all the discussions with Tom, he felt he very sincerely achieved a lot. And part of his angst, if we will, and part of the reason he made his decision, he felt like he'd achieved what he wanted in life. And if you know Tom, when he gets an idea in his head, it sticks there. And, but the Comic Jam and all his adventures in Toronto are very dear to my sister and I. And he was always a lot of fun. Even my husband sort of said, without his humor, I don't know. But we carry on, and I really want to thank everybody for attending, and it's been very comforting to see everybody. Susan, did you have any words or?
You're muted, Susan.
I'll unmute myself. There I am. Listen, this is phenomenal. And it, in a way, makes me angry because he, towards the end, didn't quite understand his influence on so many people, and the admiration that you showed tonight is just remarkable. All the stories were terrific, and very heartfelt. And I know that if you believe up there, I hope he's listening, because he was truly loved. He was loved by his family. He was loved by his friends in the Comic Jam. And I miss him very much. You know, in the last few months, it was really tough. But I told him every day I loved him. And I hope he felt that. And thank you for this. This has just been beautifully organized. It's so lovely to see people that I've heard of, and now I get to see them. Thank you so much. That's all.
Well, hold on a second. So I guess that's pretty much all we had planned. We had planned to maybe also show some videos, but technical difficulties of like we're using, I don't know how many different devices right now, but I think the plan is that we'll just we'll play some music very softly. We'll keep the Zoom going. So if anyone wants to just chat over Zoom, just crawl up to the front, I guess, or something. We have the jam books here. We still have food in the back. We still have lots of people. I guess maybe I'll try and say a few things. Well, okay, so I just came to the Comic Jam and I walked right out because it's just intimidating. The very first time, all these artists, everyone's drawing so good. That's like the last story for all this. But the Comic Jam, it was just always there. So even like years later, I just came back to the Cameron House, still going. I didn't say anything to anyone, but I would just eavesdrop on all their stories. So I'd eavesdrop to stories about Tom talking about things that probably his sisters or his niece probably doesn't want to hear about. Some interesting stories from like Nelvana back in the days, or he's done a lot, like things like anyone from like the online comic Jam crew, but over the pandemic they heard some Tom telling some stories. So what's my point? I don't know. I only got to know, well, I would be eavesdropping on Tom's stories, but I got to know him over the years. But we can think about it. Tom has been such a big part of the Comic Jam, but he was only here one day out of the month for a few hours. He made like such a big impact on all of our lives, and just for just a small amount of time. And I keep saying to everyone that the point of the memorial is not just to honor Tom's legacy, but Tom has quite a legacy. All of us here, but it's for us. So these memorials are for us. So I'll leave the Zoom on. So if you want to talk to anyone, get to know everyone, Tom is part of all of our lives. I just knew him for just a few hours a month. So many of you got to know him for so much longer. Yeah, let's talk. Okay. Let's do that.
Does she ever sound like Susan? Oh, yeah. Hi, Susan.
How are you guys doing?
Good. That was very nice.
It was a very, very, very nicely done.
Yeah.
We're organizing it for a while, and we're really happy the way it's sort of.
Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful. Thank
And
you so much.
Yeah. And Dave, it's that internal thought that despite what he felt in the end, he was loved.
Yeah. I'm going to sign off now.
Okay, I've asked Irma just to come on and just say hi to Irma a bit, or I might defer it till later.
Okay.
It's nice seeing you.
Thank you so much. Bye,
Okay.
Sue.
I'll stay on. Bye, Sue.
Bye.
I'll go
You're
get
going
her.
to talk to Irma? I'll listen in.
Oh, sure. Okay. If you can get Irma, I just wanted to.
Ugh.
So thanks for coming out, Susan.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
No problem. You said thanks for organizing it, but we had so many technical.
No. It's just great stories. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Someone else is in the States and they wanted to join too. We have these books here.
Oh, yeah.
So
I love that that artwork. It's very Tom.
Yeah, I'd like to get a copy of that.
yeah, definitely. So if you send an email
With your
to,
address? With my
yes,
address?
with your address.
Sure.
Tom, I'm really bad with names apparently, but Dave Howard was saying that he wanted to send these to you to make sure that I remind you guys to send your email to not your email, your addresses to them, so we can send a copy.
I want to frame it.
Oh, well, there's some Tom some drawings from Tom that he did at the comic jam. There's some we tried to grab. There's so much stuff out there. We tried to put some Tom stuff in here. There some of it's a bit off
Yeah, I
color.
see the pictures in the back. Nice.
Yeah, I sent some pictures.
If Irma has.
Yeah, I have their addresses.
Okay, so
I can send a copy. Thank you.
if you that works.
Oh, yeah.
I'll send Irma the address. I'll send you Irma the address.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all.
Thank you.
I guess this is the one that has the mic.
Has the mic, right? Hi, Susan. Can you see me?
Irma.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know which screen
Hi.
to look at. So if I'm not looking at you, I apologize. Because I don't know where to look.
That's okay.
There's 3 different screens.
See you.
Yeah. We'll catch up next week, okay?
Yes, that would be
Yeah,
good.
it's later. We're just going into dinner now.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask a quick question, Irma,
Yeah.
just because Paul has asked me and Paul sat in for most of it, but did you have any artwork of Tom's?
I have
Like any,
his toads. Yes, I have lots of his, so I only looked through one of the toads. So I have to take a look again, and I don't know what to do with it, but I can send it.
Okay.
that might be a good idea, because I would like to filter it and just have our own collection
Yeah.
of, because that's what I was sending pieces of art that was from him to him, just because, Tom, I know you really like this, and it was anyways, Irma, we'll let you go because they're all mingling, and it was good, and you did a wonderful
Thanks.
job.
Sorry, I got so emotional.
Oh, my goodness, why not?
Hey, look at me. I didn't follow up very well, but Susan, you can tell you've been on TV for a number of
Yeah.
years. You had it. You had it. And all I could think of was Scott Thompson and my mother saying you need vegetables.
That's the way it is.
It's
Yeah.
about food.
Irma, you were just a terrific friend,
Tommy.
and he talked about you so much,
Oh,
and he relied on you so much. And all the good conversations you had, he would talk about them. So I'm just,
And some of those pictures, we were
Oh.
younger then. You have some great pictures with Tom on that trip and your leather jacket, and
you were cool. Cool.
I know, eh? Those were the good old days.
Yeah.
Find pictures that you asked me for, Wendy, because my basement is like an archaeological excavation. I
Yeah.
haven't organized them, but when I find them, like I'll let you know. I'm not sure if I have that one that you asked for when the three of us are standing around the campfire at Jasper Park.
It might turn up in mine, but you know what? Let's just give ourselves, this is a good bit of closure here.
Awesome.
I like Zoom too, so that I can see all your faces, and I have a Zoom account, so
Yeah.
in a couple of weeks, I'll set up a Zoom and we'll take it from there.
Okay. All right. That sounds terrific. When is your show? When do you have to have the application in? November 6th?
Oh, yeah, that's November 5th. I have to submit the art brand application.
So after that, it's fine. Don't worry about it until after
I
that.
haven't started it yet.
Do what you have to do, and then we'll gather.
Okay, that would be really nice. And I
Okay.
would see you all in person sometime. So I would love to see you in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
We are part of it. We are
Yeah.
part of Tom King's family.
Lots of hugs, lots of love.
You too. All right. We're signing off.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, that's good enough for me.
All right, Wendy, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay.
All right.
I'm signing off.
Me too. I'm leaving.
Bye-bye. Good work.
Bye.
How did I say work?
I think they're gone. Diego, Irma.
It's okay, I'll send her another message and see. I was just worried if it went through, is it on the back end of the submission, because I got put everything. Like every time more than here, I'll put through, I'll probably send you more pictures.
Thank you so much.
Hey, you. Did you happen to get one of these books? These are art, sort of like remembering time